Another type of loop that is available in JavaScript is a while loop. And the while loops are based on a condition. Now remember that for loops are also based on a condition, and that's the middle portion of the for loop, right? It has three parts, and that middle part is the condition. So while a condition is true, keep executing. And then you test that condition. You test the condition at the beginning of each loop. If it's true, you do the entire loop. If it's not, you don't do any of it. So you just test each time. Is it true? Is it true? Is it true? So notice how this is actually implemented. Here we're going to test if I is less than 10. Well, we want to make sure before we test that I has a value. So notice how here I has been declared and given a value before we get to this while loop. And that's so that very first time you compare it, it has a value. The other thing you want to do is you want to change the value of I inside the loop. If this is a true statement and you never change I, it will be true always, which is an infinite loop because it won't ever change. So it's really important that inside the while loop, you change that looping variable so that it ultimately can be false and stop that loop. So in this case, it starts at 0. It goes as long as it's less than 10, and it prints out those numbers. So here it's printed out the numbers 1 through 9. And it's printing out a break tag and the string the number is and the actual value of I. And that's a while loop. Notice that these are interchangeable with for loops. They have all the parts. They're just laid out differently. And sometimes one seems to fit the logic better, and sometimes the other one does. Now, a while loop tests that condition the very first time you start the loop, and then it can test it every time thereafter. The do while loop does the same thing, but when it does the condition is at the end of the loop. So the first time through, it doesn't test it. It actually goes right in, does the work. Let's get this loop up here. It goes right in, it does the work of the loop, and then it tests. So the difference between a while loop and a do while loop is that first time through the loop. Always, a do while loop will always go through the loop one time and then test the condition. But a while loop, on the other hand, it'll test the condition first and may or may not enter the loop. If that condition is false at the very beginning, it won't ever go in the loop. So that's kind of the difference. Other than that, they do exactly the same things and need the same sort of processes. So here, that looping variable is declared and given a value. Then the code is run, right? It does this statement, it concatenates the text, and then it changes that loop variable. So the same things, declare it and initialize it, and then inside the loop, make sure it changes. And then it does the condition, and it tests that condition at the end of the loop. If it's true, it will go back and do the loop again. If it's false, it will drop out of the loop. And here we get exactly the same results for this very similar loop. So those are two versions of the while loop.